I wasn't supposed to see him again. That's what I kept telling myself when I was leaning against that cold bathroom sink, staring at my reflection, trying to catch my breath. My hair was a mess, mascara smudged at the edges, and my lips still tingled from how he kissed me in the hallway before I tried to slip away. It was only supposed to be one night. That's what he promised me, whispering it against my neck while his hands moved with this quiet confidence that made me forget how lonely I had been since my ex left. I was the one who insisted, actually. I told him I didn't want complications, didn't want someone to text in the morning or to hold me when I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to care about someone again. But the way he looked at me that first night. God, it was like he could see every part of me I had been trying to hide. The sadness, the need, the hunger I tried to bury under work in fake smiles. He didn't flinch when I pushed him away. He didn't pull me back either. He just waited, watching me, like he already knew I'd come to him. And I did. I was trembling when I reached for him, when my hand brushed against his chest, feeling the heat of him under that soft cotton shirt, and it was like my body woke up from a sleep I didn't know I was in. Every inch of me was aware of him. His scent, warm and clean, with a hint of something woodsy, stuck in the air between us. His eyes, dark and patient, holding me there while everything inside me screamed to run and to stay. That night wasn't supposed to matter. It was supposed to be a goodbye to everything I had been holding on to. A way to forget the way my ex used to look at me before he decided I was too much. A way to forget the empty side of the bed, the quiet of my apartment, the way I'd wake up at 3 a.m. reaching for someone who wasn't there. But when he touched me, all of that fell away. The past, the heartbreak, the promises I made to myself that I'd never let anyone close again. It all burned away under the heat of his breath as he leaned down, whispering, "Just one night." I nodded. But I think even then I knew I was lying. The morning after, I tried to leave before he woke up. I pulled on my jeans in the half-light, hair tangled, my shirt twisted from where his hands had been the night before. I could still feel where his fingertips had traced over my skin, slow and warm, like he was memorizing me. My chest felt tight, the room too quiet, my heart beating loud enough that I was scared he might hear it. I wasn't supposed to stay. That was the deal. I found my shoes by the door, slipping them on with shaking hands, avoiding the mirror because I didn't want to see what I looked like after wanting someone so badly. I kept telling myself this was strength, that I was protecting myself by leaving first. But before I could open the door, I felt his hand on my wrist. I froze. His touch was gentle, but it was like every nerve in my body was pulled toward him. I didn't want to look at him because I knew what I'd see. I knew I'd see that softness in his eyes, that calm certainty that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't allowed myself to feel in so long. "Stay," he whispered, voice rough with sleep. And for a moment, I wanted to. I wanted to crawl back under those sheets that still smelled like us, like sweat and quiet promises neither of us said out loud. I wanted to rest my head against his chest and let him hold me, let him stroke my hair until I fell back asleep, let myself believe that the world outside didn't exist. But I pulled my hand away. "I can't," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. His eyes searched mine like he was looking for a reason, but I couldn't give him one. Not one that would make sense. Not one that would explain how terrified I was of needing someone again. Of being let down. Of letting someone close enough to hurt me. "Okay," he said quietly, stepping back, giving me space even as the warmth of his touch lingered on my skin. I opened the door, letting the cold morning air rush in, and I stepped out without looking back. But as I walked down the hallway, the world felt different. Like the air itself was heavier, pressing against me, reminding me of how it felt to be held like that. To be wanted like that. To be seen. I kept telling myself it was just one night. But I could still feel him under my skin. And that's when I realized leaving him wasn't going to be as easy as I thought. I tried to move on. I went to work, I went to the gym, I met friends for coffee, pretending I was fine. I told myself it was just one night, a night to forget, a night to let go, a night I wouldn't let follow me into the daylight. But it was everywhere. The song that played in the grocery store was the one he hummed under his breath when he thought I was asleep. The scent of clean laundry reminded me of the way his shirt smelled when I pressed my face against his shoulder in the dark. Just for a moment, before I remembered I wasn't supposed to need that comfort. I kept waking up at 3:27 a.m., the exact time I woke up in his bed, his arm heavy across my waist, his breath slow and warm against the back of my neck. My body remembered him before my mind did. Before I could shove it all back into the corner I reserved for things I wasn't allowed to want. I tried to see other people. I let a guy buy me a drink at a bar, laughed politely at his jokes, nodded when he talked about his job, pretending to be interested. But the moment he reached to brush a stray hair from my face, I flinched. because it wasn't him. His touch didn't make my breath catch, didn't make my skin wake up, didn't send that trembling heat rolling through me like his did. It wasn't fair. I kept telling myself he was just a distraction, that it was just the loneliness talking, that I was stronger than this. I wasn't the kind of woman who let herself get pulled into something she couldn't control. I wasn't the kind of woman who fell apart over a man's touch. But late at night, in the quiet, I couldn't stop remembering the way he looked at me when I was falling apart in his arms. Like I was something beautiful, not something broken. Like he wanted every part of me, even the pieces I tried to hide. So I started finding excuses. An old sweater I left at his place. A book I forgot. A question I needed to ask him, something small, something stupid, just a reason to see him again. Each time I told myself it would be the last. Each time I found myself standing at his door, hand hovering over the handle, my pulse loud in my ears, wondering if he could feel how much I wanted to see him again, how much I hated myself for needing him. And each time when he opened the door, I saw it in his eyes. That quiet knowing. That soft, devastating smile. Like he knew I would always come back. The third time I showed up at his door, I didn't even bother with an excuse. I stood there, clutching my keys in my hand, pressing them so hard into my palm I could feel the metal bite, grounding me, reminding me that I could still turn around, go home, pretend I hadn't needed to see him. But when he opened the door, everything inside me softened. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me, and there was this quiet between us, heavy and warm, like the air was holding its breath with me. His eyes moved over my face, searching, patient, like he was waiting for me to decide what I wanted, what I was willing to take. I stepped inside. I don't even remember closing the door behind me, or how his hands found mine, prying the keys from my grip, dropping them onto the counter with a soft clatter that felt too loud in the quiet of his apartment. My chest rose and fell too fast, my breath shaky, every nerve alive, every inch of me screaming to run and to stay. He lifted a hand, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingertips trailing along my jaw, slow, so gentle I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I turned my face into his hand, closing my eyes, letting myself feel it, letting myself need it. "Are you okay?" he whispered. I almost laughed at how simple the question was, how it shattered every wall I had built around myself. I wasn't okay. I hadn't been okay for a long time. But in that moment, with his thumb brushing softly against my cheek, with the warmth of him so close, I didn't want to pretend anymore. I opened my eyes and he was looking at me like I was the only person in the world. And I kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't careful. It was soft and desperate, my lips finding his, trembling, breathing him in like I was starving for it, like I was afraid he would disappear if I didn't hold on tight enough. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer, and I felt that rush, that heat, that quiet thunder rolling through my chest. When he pulled back, his forehead resting against mine, we were both breathing hard, the world spinning just a little, the air between us thick with everything we weren't saying. "I don't know how to stop wanting you," I whispered. His hand slid up to the back of my neck, fingers threading into my hair, holding me there, keeping me close. His eyes were so soft it almost hurt. "Then don't," he said. And for a moment I let myself believe that it was that simple. That night I didn't leave. I let him take my hand and lead me to the living room. The lights low, the shadows soft around us as if the world outside had faded. He sat on the couch, pulling me gently between his knees, looking up at me like he was memorizing every inch of my face. I could feel the way my body responded, the warmth spreading under my skin, the way my breath caught when his hands moved slowly along my hips, grounding me, calming me, and yet somehow lighting everything inside me on fire. I reached out, letting my fingers slip into his hair, the softness of it catching against my skin, and he closed his eyes for a moment, leaning into my touch. It was such a small thing, but it felt like the bravest thing I had done in months. Allowing myself to touch him like that. To want him openly. When he opened his eyes again, there was something in them that made me forget to breathe. I lowered myself into his lap, straddling him slowly, carefully, like I was afraid the moment would break if I moved too fast. His hands slid up my back, under my shirt, the warmth of his palm spreading through me, leaving a trail of shivers in their wake. He kissed me, softly at first, like he was asking permission, like he was reminding me that I could still stop this if I wanted to. But I didn't want to stop. I wanted to get lost in him, in the way he made me feel, in the way the world fell away when his lips moved against mine. When his mouth moved to my neck, I let my head fall back, a quiet sound escaping me, something small and helpless that I couldn't hide. His breath was warm against my skin, his lips brushing softly, leaving a trail of heat that made me arch closer, my body moving instinctively, as if it had been waiting for this. I could feel the tension in him, the way his hands tightened against my back, the way his breath caught when I shifted closer. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't frantic. It was slow, unhurried, like we had all the time in the world, like we were letting every second stretch, letting ourselves feel every trembling moment. My hands moved under his shirt, feeling the warmth of his skin, the steady rise and fall of his chest, the quiet strength in the way he held me. Our foreheads pressed together, our breaths mingling, and it felt like the safest place I had ever been. For a moment there was no fear. No past. No heartbreak. No promises I had made to myself about never letting anyone in again. There was only the warmth of his hands on my skin, the soft press of his lips, the quiet sighs that filled the space between us. And the way he whispered my name like it was something precious, something he wasn't willing to let go of. I woke up before him. The morning light was slipping through the blinds, soft and pale, painting quiet stripes across his bare shoulders. His arm was around me, heavy and warm, holding me against him like even in sleep, he wasn't ready to let go. His breath was slow against the back of my neck. Each exhale a gentle reminder that I wasn't alone, that for once I didn't have to wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there. For a moment, I let myself pretend. Pretend that this was normal. That I could wake up like this every morning, tucked against him, feeling the soft rise and fall of his chest, the warmth of him grounding me, making me feel like the world outside didn't have to crash in and remind me who I was supposed to be. His hand shifted, fingers brushing along my waist, and even in sleep, he pulled me closer. I closed my eyes, pressing my lips together to stop the small, shaky breath that wanted to escape, because it was too much, too close, too real. I was supposed to leave before he woke up. That was my rule. Slip out quietly, pretend it didn't happen, let the distance grow before the sun was even fully up. But I couldn't move. I didn't want to move. The way he held me felt like something I had been starving for, like something I was afraid to lose the second I stepped away. When he stirred, his nose brushed against my hair, and I felt the way his breath caught. I could feel the moment he realized I was still there, the way his arm tightened, the way his hand slipped under the fabric of my shirt, resting on the warm skin of my stomach, his thumb moving slowly, gently, like he was drawing invisible patterns. "Hey," he whispered, his voice rough and soft all at once. I swallowed, my eyes still closed, because I didn't trust myself to look at him. "Hey." He didn't ask why I stayed. He didn't ask what this meant. He just pressed a slow, warm kiss to the back of my shoulder, letting it linger, letting me feel it, letting me breathe in the weight of that small, careful tenderness. The world outside felt far away. In that quiet moment, with the morning light creeping across the sheets, I realized how badly I wanted this. How badly I wanted him. How every promise I made to protect myself, to never let someone get this close, was falling apart under the warmth of his touch. And I hated how much I loved it. I tried to leave. I slipped out of his bed, moving carefully so I wouldn't wake him, pulling on my jeans, gathering my hair into a messy knot, trying to create distance with every small movement. The morning light was stronger now, spilling across the floor, illuminating the quiet chaos inside me. I told myself I had to leave before I fell any deeper. But when I turned to look at him, he was already awake, watching me with that calm, steady gaze that made everything inside me tremble. His hair was a mess, his eyes soft, tired, like he hadn't slept well without me close. "Leaving again?" he asked, his voice low, warm, careful. I couldn't answer. My throat was tight, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. I looked away, blinking back the sting in my eyes, clutching my keys so tightly in my hand they dug into my skin. "Hey," he said softly, sitting up, the sheets falling around his waist, his hand reaching for mine. "Talk to me." I shook my head, a tear slipping down before I could stop it. "I can't do this," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I wasn't supposed to want you like this." He stood, closing the space between us with slow, careful steps, like he was afraid I would bolt if he moved too fast. His hands came to my face, his thumbs brushing away the tears I couldn't hide, and I finally looked at him, letting him see how much I was unraveling. "What if I want you to?" he said, so quietly it felt like the world paused. I closed my eyes, letting the tears fall, letting his hand steady me, letting the truth I had been hiding surface in the quiet between us. "I keep coming back because I don't know how to let you go," I whispered. His forehead pressed against mine, his breath shaky, matching mine, and for a moment, the world outside disappeared. There was only the sound of our breaths, the heat of our closeness, the way his hands cradled my face like I was something he wasn't willing to lose. Then stay, he whispered. Stay with me. And I did. I dropped my keys, letting them clatter to the floor, and I sank into his arms, letting him hold me, letting myself need him, letting every fear, every wall, every promise to protect myself fall away under the warmth of his touch. Because sometimes you can't let go of the person who teaches you what it feels like to be wanted in the quietest, deepest way.